As we move into the next chapter at Bethesda and eagerly await for their next big launches Starfield and Redfall, news about horrible working conditions that led to the disastrous release of Fallout 76 is starting to pop up. No one wanted to be on the project because it ate people, destroyed people. That is one former developer who spoke to Kotaku. Testers leading up to the launch of the game was working under horrible conditions 6 days a week for 10 hours on end. The only relief was to leave the team. I didn't cry last night when I was taking a shower, one former tester said. I pulled into work today and sat in my car for a second and my chest didn't feel heavy like it normally does. Another is quoted as saying in a group chat. Testing video games is seen as an easy job. Even within the game industry among developers, they are oftentimes treated poorly. They are underpaid, overworked, and the conditions has deteriorated so much for some of them that a group under Activision Raven Software band together to form a union, making it the first ever AAA studio to do so. Some testers who worked on Fallout 76 stated that they would get told to come in on weekends to test games for bug fixes. These bugs would get reported only for Bethesda to not take note of them or implement any of the fixes, making all of the overtime completely useless. Now honestly, I do not need a 10-person investigation to tell me that they ignore bugs. Anyone who ever picked up the game or even just seen the gameplay online would know that that is exactly what they did. I remember seeing one of my co-workers stand up, look at the person who was in charge that day and scream across the room. Why are we here? Why did we give up our day for this? This build isn't what we need. This is useless. This is a waste of our time. Why are we here? That is another account from a disgruntled employee showing just how dysfunctional everything was. Some QA staff recalled that the company tried to reel them in with more money and free food, offering $200 a week extra and also free pizza. Now most of them took it because they needed the money, and quitting is not always an option if ZeniMax is the only large developer in your city. They control lots of studios, so saying no is not always an option, and if you do say no and want to keep working as a developer, you need to move your whole family out of the state. That is an option that is just not possible for many, so they take the free food and give up their nights and weekends. A few employees say that they tried to bring up the issue of crunch with their director, but he would just deflect the issue or deny that it was happening at all. Now Kotaku did receive an email communication to confirm that all of this was in fact happening. One employee said that working conditions was so terrible that when they broke a bone on the stairs, they fantasized about it being so bad that they didn't have to go to work. Having broken limbs and dealing with the pain is better than working under crunch for many. Other testers say that their bathroom breaks was being timed, which by this point just seems like a common practice in large businesses. This type of hostility would also lead to workers turning on one another, following each other to bathrooms and then telling on them to management with the hopes that they would improve their own standings within the company. When the game finally released, as everyone know by this point, it was horribly broken. This led to even more problems as testers was now subjected to horrible comments and also death threats. More time had to be spent fixing the bugs while your life was also being threatened. One comment received stated, "I'm going to take a gun and go to the QA department and shoot all of them." It is also reported that Fallout 76 was in such a horrible state that developers had to be borrowed from other teams, oftentimes leaving their own project, which can lead to serious problems. Developers was taken from Redfall and Starfield to work on Fallout. This resulted in both games falling behind. Now honestly, I do believe that both these games would have been released by now if Microsoft didn't buy them out. They would have released it in a broken state and just tried to fix it later. That is a very common Bethesda tactic. Hopefully an extra year can help them in terms of crunch and also bug fixes. Now some also say that the boss of Bethesda, Todd Howard, was supposed to lead Fallout 76, but he switched teams to work on Starfield. They describe him as a decent executive with a bigger is better philosophy philosophy, but because he had divided his time with Starfield as well, the scope and the size of what they tried to do with Fallout was not always appreciated. Management, including Howard, did not understand the work that would be needed in order to make the game possible. There was also a very large focus on live service games. Many were unhappy going from Fallout 4 to Fallout 76, as most joined Bethesda in the first place because they were fans of single narrative driven games. The direction shifted when the whole Fallout Shelter thing happened. The game made over $100 million and with it became one of the most successful games for the studio. Right after that, Elder Scrolls Online took off and that became a hit as well. With those two huge successes, live services was now the next big thing, but management just never understood the scope of what was needed in order to make a game like Fallout 76 work. Senior developers working on Fallout also considered Elder Scrolls Online a fluke success, and as such they would ignore input and dismiss what it took to make the game work. All of this resulted in a completely broken game and also horrible working conditions, with now a reputation that is very hard to fix. Hope is on the horizon though with Starfield, but many are still very skeptical.